I stood alone in the rented banquet hall on Saturday evening. Surrounded by decorations I spent 4 months perfecting for my sister's Sweet 14 party. 200 pink and gold balloons. A custom cake from the expensive bakery downtown. A DJ waiting outside. Catering for 80 guests. My phone buzzed with a text from my mother. A photo. The Eiffel Tower. My entire family smiling in Paris. Below it, one line from my father. "We just wanted to keep you busy. You seemed lonely after the divorce. Thanks for understanding." I stared at the empty room, understanding nothing. The DJ knocked on the door at exactly 6:30, the time the party was supposed to start. I had been standing in the middle of the empty dance floor for 20 minutes, still holding my phone, staring at that photo of my family in front of the Eiffel Tower. My sister was making a peace sign. My younger brother had his arm around my dad. Everyone looked so happy. "Hey man, where's the birthday girl?" the DJ asked, wheeling in his equipment. I didn't know what to say. My mouth opened, but nothing came out. Then the caterers arrived. 3 people carrying aluminum trays of food for 80 guests. Chicken parmesan, pasta with marinara sauce, Caesar salad, garlic bread. The woman in charge, a tired-looking lady in her 50s, set down the trays and pulled out a clipboard. "Delbert?" she asked. "That's me. We need the payment before we set up. That'll be $2,300. I felt my stomach drop. My parents had promised they would handle all the payments. They told me my only job was to coordinate everything, make sure it all came together perfectly. They said they wanted me to feel useful, to have a project after my divorce from Amanda 6 months ago. "I thought this was already paid," I said. The caterer shook her head. "No, sir. We require payment on delivery. That was in the contract." I pulled out my phone and called my mother. It went straight to voicemail. I tried my father. Same thing. I texted both of them. No response. The DJ was getting impatient. "Look, I got another gig at 9. Are we doing this or what?" I called my sister. Her phone was off. I tried my brother. Nothing. The caterer checked her watch. "Sir, we have other deliveries tonight. I need payment now or we have to leave." I looked around the room. Pink and gold streamers hung from the ceiling. I had spent 6 hours yesterday hanging them. The balloon arch near the entrance had taken me 3 hours to assemble. The centerpieces on each table, these elaborate arrangements with photos of my sister from childhood to now, had cost me $400 and 2 full days of work. I pulled out my credit card and paid the caterer. Then I paid the DJ his $600 fee. Then the cake arrived, and I paid another $300 for that. By 7 o'clock, I had spent over $6,000 of my own money, and I was sitting alone at a table for 80 people, surrounded by food that would go to waste. I called my parents again. Still nothing. I opened Facebook on my phone. My brother had posted a video 20 minutes ago. My entire family at a sidewalk cafe in Paris, drinking wine and eating pastries. The caption read, "Thanks, Delbert, for handling everything back home. We're living our best life." Someone had commented, "Where's Delbert?" My brother replied, "Busy with his little project. He's so dedicated." 3 laughing emoji faces followed. I felt something cold settle in my chest. This wasn't just a last-minute trip. This wasn't some emergency that came up. They planned this. They knew they were going to Paris, while I was setting up a party that would never happen. I scrolled through my sister's Instagram. She had posted yesterday a photo at the airport. Paris bound for my real birthday celebration. 14 never looked so good. Her birthday was 3 months ago, in July. I remembered because I had sent her a card and a gift certificate to her favorite clothing store. She had a small party with her friends. I wasn't invited, but that was normal. I was her older brother, 32 years old, not part of her teenage social circle. So this Sweet 14 party was never real. None of it was real. I sat there for another hour, watching the food get cold, listening to the DJ pack up his equipment. He gave me a sympathetic look before he left. "Sorry, man. That's rough. At 11 o'clock, I started cleaning up. I took down the streamers. I popped 200 balloons one by one. I packed up the centerpieces. I wrapped up the food and loaded it into my car to donate to a homeless shelter tomorrow. My phone buzzed at midnight. A text from my cousin Tyler. "Dude, I'm so sorry. I didn't know they were going to do that to you." I texted back. "Do what?" 3 dots appeared, then disappeared, then appeared again. Finally, a message came through. But it wasn't a message to me. It was a screenshot of a group text, the family group chat, the one I wasn't included in. My mother had written, 4 months ago, "Operation Keep Delbert Busy is underway. He's planning Sarah's party. This should keep him occupied for months. He's been so depressed since the divorce. He needs something to do," my father replied. "How long do you think before he figures out we're not actually having the party?" My aunt wrote, "I give him 2 months." My uncle, "I say he'll work on it right up until the day of. $20. My brother, $50 says he never figures it out, and we have to tell him. My sister, "This is kind of mean, isn't it?" My mother, "It's for his own good. He needs to feel useful." There were 43 messages in the thread. Everyone in my extended family knew about this. They made bets on how long I would keep planning a fake party. They thought it was funny. The last message in the thread was from my mother, sent this morning. "We're boarding the flight. Remember, nobody tell Delbert until after we send him the photo. I want to see his reaction." I sat in my car in the empty parking lot of the banquet hall, holding my phone, reading that group chat over and over again. They didn't just lie to me. They turned my pain into entertainment. The next week was quiet. My phone rang constantly. 39 calls on Tuesday afternoon alone. My mother, my father, my sister, my brother, my aunt, my uncle, Tyler, and several other relatives. I watched my phone light up over and over again, and I didn't answer. Instead, I sent one text to each person. "I'm very busy." Nothing else. Just those 3 words. My mother texted back, "Busy with what? We need to talk." I didn't respond. My father called from 3 different numbers. I declined each call. By Thursday, they were back from Paris. I knew because my mother posted photos of their home, unpacking souvenirs, miniature Eiffel Towers, berets, fancy chocolates. Friday evening, someone knocked on my apartment door. I looked through the peephole and saw my parents standing there with shopping bags and bright smiles. I opened the door. "Delbert!" My mother pushed past me into the apartment, holding up a bag. "We brought you presents. Look, we got you this beautiful scarf from a boutique near Notre Dame. And your father found this amazing French press coffee maker." My father followed her inside, carrying a box of macarons. "These are from the best bakery in Paris. You'll love them." They stood in my living room, looking at me expectantly, like they were waiting for me to be grateful. "Sit down," I said quietly. Something in my tone made them pause. My mother's smile faltered slightly. My father set down the macarons on my coffee table. "Is something wrong?" my mother asked. I pulled out my phone and showed them the screenshot Tyler had sent me. The group chat, the bets, the entire plan laid out in their own words. My mother's face went pale. My father looked away. "Delbert, let me explain," my mother started. "You made me spend 4 months planning a fake party," I said. My voice was calm, steady. "You let me spend over $6,000 of my own money. You turned me into a joke for the entire family. You placed bets on me." "It wasn't like that," my father said. "We were trying to help you." "Help me?" "You've been depressed since Amanda left you," my mother said, her voice taking on that pleading tone she used when she wanted sympathy. "You were just sitting in this apartment, every night, alone, doing nothing. We thought, if we gave you a project, something to focus on, you'd feel better, you'd feel useful. So you lied to me. We gave you purpose," my father said, his voice getting defensive. "Do you know how much that trip to Paris cost us? $15,000. We deserved that vacation. We've worked hard our whole lives. You're 32 years old. You should be grateful that we care enough about you to keep you occupied." I stared at him. "You think I should be grateful that you lied to me for 4 months? We were helping you through a difficult time," my mother said, tears starting to form in her eyes. She was good at crying on command. I had seen her do it my whole life whenever she wanted to win an argument. The door opened, and my sister walked in. She still had a key from the time she needed a place to stay between apartments last year. "Are we really doing this?" Sarah asked, rolling her eyes. "Delbert, get over it. You needed something to focus on. Everyone could see you were pathetic after Amanda left you. We did you a favor." That word, pathetic. I felt something shift inside me, a memory surfacing. 2 years ago, I said slowly, "You asked me to plan your 30th anniversary party." My parents exchanged a glance. "I spent 4 months on that too," I continued. "I rented a venue. I invited 150 people. I hired a band. The day of the party, you called and said you were going to Hawaii instead. You said something had come up." My mother looked away. 3 years ago, you asked me to renovate your guest house. I spent 6 months working on it every weekend. New flooring, new paint, new fixtures. I did most of the work myself to save you money. The week after I finished, you sold the property. You never mentioned you were planning to sell it." My father cleared his throat. "We got a good offer. 4 years ago, you asked me to create a business plan for a new company you were starting. I worked on it for 3 months. Market research, financial projections, branding concepts. The company never existed, did it?" Silence. "How long have you been doing this?" I asked. My mother's tears were gone now. She looked annoyed. "Delbert, you're overreacting." "How long?" My father sighed. "We've been seeing a therapist. About you. About how to help you." "A therapist?" "Dr. Patterson," my mother said. "She's wonderful. She specializes in family dynamics and adult children who struggle with purpose. She suggested we give you projects to work on, to help build your self-esteem." "She told you to lie to me?" "She told us to give you meaningful tasks," my father corrected. "We interpreted that in our own way." "For how long?" 5 years, my mother admitted. 5 years. This had been going on for 5 years. Since before my divorce. Since before Amanda left me. "Amanda knew, didn't she?" I said. "She knew you were doing this to me." My mother hesitated. "Amanda expressed some concerns about our methods. She told you to stop." "She didn't understand," my father said. "She wasn't family. She didn't know what was best for you." I sat down on my couch, feeling dizzy. "My marriage ended partly because my wife watched you manipulate me, and I did nothing about it. She told me I needed to set boundaries with you. I told her she was overreacting. I defended you. And look how that turned out," Sarah said. "Amanda left anyway. So maybe you should listen to people who actually care about you." I looked at my sister, this 17-year-old who thought she understood the world, who had been raised by parents who thought deception was love. "Get out," I said quietly. "Delbert, let's talk about this," my mother started. "Get out of my apartment." "We're your family," my father said. "Get out." They left, finally, taking their French presents with them. The door closed and I sat in the silence of my apartment, understanding something I should have understood years ago. They didn't love me. They managed me. Like I was a problem to be solved, a project to be controlled. 2 weeks passed. I didn't answer their calls. I didn't respond to their texts. I focused on my work as a graphic designer, took on extra freelance projects, and tried to process everything. On Sunday morning, my mother texted, "Please come to dinner today. 6 o'clock. We need to talk properly. Please, Delbert." I almost didn't go. But some part of me, the part that still wanted to believe family could be real, that still wanted parents who actually loved me, instead of managed me, made me drive to their house in the suburbs. The smell of pot roast hit me when I walked through the door. My mother's specialty. The dining room table was set with the good china, the stuff they only used for holidays. Everyone was there. My father, my mother, Sarah, my brother Jason. They all stood when I walked in. "Delbert," my father said, and his voice sounded different. Serious. "Please sit down. I. Saturday. They. Saturday." My mother folded her hands on the table. "We owe you an apology," she said. "A real one." My father nodded. "We talked to Dr. Patterson. We told her everything we've been doing. She was horrified. She said we completely misunderstood her advice. She said what we did was manipulative and wrong. We're sorry," my mother said, and tears ran down her face. Real tears this time, I thought. "We thought we were helping you. We see now that we were hurting you. We were controlling you. We were using you." Sarah spoke up, her voice small. "I'm sorry too. What I said about you being pathetic, that was cruel. You're my brother. I shouldn't have said that." Jason, my 25-year-old brother, looked uncomfortable. "I went along with it because everyone else was doing it. That's not an excuse. I should have stood up for you. I'm sorry." I looked at all of them. They looked genuinely remorseful. "We want to do better," my father said. "We want to treat you with respect. We want to be a real family. Can you forgive us?" my mother asked. I wanted to. I wanted so badly to believe they had changed, that this was real, that I could have my family back. "I need time," I said. "Of course," my father said. "Take all the time you need." We ate dinner. The pot roast was perfect. The conversation was careful, polite. Nobody mentioned Paris or fake parties or lies. We talked about normal things. Work, weather, a movie Jason had seen. It felt almost normal. After dinner, over coffee and my mother's apple pie, my father said, "By the way, we need your help with something important." I felt my stomach tighten. "What kind of help?" I asked carefully. "We're being audited by the IRS," my father said, "for unreported income from rental properties." My mother grabbed my hand. "It's serious, Delbert. We could lose the house. We need to compile 5 years of financial documents, receipts, bank statements, tax returns. It's thousands of pages. We're not organized like you are. We don't know how to present it properly." "The audit starts in 3 weeks," my father added. "The IRS agent assigned to our case. His name is Robert Fisher. He said, if we can't provide clear documentation, they'll assume the worst and assess penalties. We really need you," my mother said, her eyes pleading. "This is real, Delbert. This isn't a trick. We could lose everything." I looked at their faces. They looked terrified. My mother's hands were shaking. My father looked older than I had ever seen him. "Please," my mother whispered, against every instinct screaming at me to say no, against the voice in my head that sounded like Amanda telling me to walk away. I heard myself say, "Okay, I'll help." The relief on their faces looked genuine. I spent the next 2 weeks working 80 to 90 hours a week. I went to their house every day after my regular job, worked until midnight organizing documents, bank statements going back 5 years, receipts for repairs on 3 rental properties, tax returns, mortgage documents, insurance papers. I created spreadsheets. I cross-referenced dates. I made presentation folders with tabs and labels. I compiled everything into a logical sequence that would make sense to an auditor. I barely slept. I ordered takeout for every meal because I didn't have time to cook. I canceled plans with friends. I stopped going to the gym. My mother brought me coffee and sandwiches while I worked at their dining room table. Papers spread everywhere. "You're such a good son," she said. "We're so lucky to have you." My father patted my shoulder. "You're saving us, Delbert. We won't forget this." The day before the IRS meeting, I had everything ready. 3 binders, perfectly organized, with every document they would need. I felt exhausted, but satisfied. I had done something real this time. I had helped my family with an actual crisis. I called the number my father had given me for Robert Fisher, the IRS agent, to confirm the meeting time. The number was disconnected. I called again, thinking I had dialed wrong. Same result. Disconnected. I felt cold spreading through my chest. I called the main IRS office in our district. I asked to speak to Robert Fisher. "I'm sorry. We don't have an agent by that name," the receptionist said. "Could you check again?" I asked. "It's regarding an audit of George and Patricia Hartwell." A pause. Keyboard clicking. "I'm not showing any active audits for those names in our system." I hung up. I sat in my car outside my parents' house, where I had just spent 2 weeks of my life organizing documents for a meeting that didn't exist. I drove there immediately. It was 4:30 on a Saturday afternoon. I found them having a backyard barbecue party with their neighbors. Music playing, people laughing, my father at the grill, flipping burgers, my mother carrying a pitcher of lemonade. They looked relaxed, happy. Not at all like people facing an IRS audit that could cost them their house. I walked through the side gate into the backyard. Conversations stopped. People looked at me. "Delbert," my father said, too cheerfully. "You came. Want a burger?" "There is no audit," I said. My father's smile didn't falter. "What?" "Robert Fisher doesn't exist. The IRS has no record of any audit. There is no meeting tomorrow." My mother set down the lemonade pitcher. "Delbert, not here. I just spent 2 weeks organizing documents for a fake audit," I said, my voice rising. "I worked 90 hours a week. I barely slept. For nothing." My father turned off the grill. He walked over to me, still holding his spatula. He looked at the neighbors, who were all staring now, and then back at me. "We wanted to see if you'd fall for it again," he said simply. "You did. Son, you need to wise up. You're too trusting. We were teaching you a lesson." "A lesson?" I repeated. "The world is full of people who will use you if you let them," my mother said. "We were showing you that. So you'd be more careful." I looked at Sarah, who was sitting at the patio table, watching this unfold. She wouldn't meet my eyes. I looked at Jason, who shrugged. "Come on, man. It was kind of funny." I looked at my parents' neighbors, who were trying to pretend they weren't listening to every word. I turned around and walked out of the backyard, through the gate, to my car. My father called after me. "Delbert, don't be dramatic." I drove home. I parked in my apartment building's lot. I walked up 3 flights of stairs to my apartment. I unlocked the door. I went inside. I sat on my couch, and something inside me broke. Not in a sad way, in a clean way, like a bone that had been fractured for years, finally snapping completely. And in that snap, I could finally see how to set it properly. I wasn't going to cry. I wasn't going to yell. I wasn't going to beg them to love me correctly. I was going to be very, very busy. I went back to the barbecue. I walked into the backyard with a smile on my face. "You're right," I said to my father. "I needed to learn that lesson. Thank you." My father looked surprised, then pleased. "Now you're getting it. I appreciate everything you've tried to teach me," I said. "I really do." My mother hugged me. "We knew you'd understand eventually." I stayed for the rest of the barbecue. I ate a burger. I chatted with the neighbors. I laughed at my father's jokes. I acted like everything was fine, because it was fine. Better than fine. I finally understood the game. And if they wanted to play games, I would play. I would just play better. Over the next week, I began my own careful campaign. My father had been talking about joining the Riverside Country Club for years. It was prestigious, expensive, and had a 2-year waiting list. He had finally gotten an interview scheduled for his membership application. "Delbert, could you help me with the application essay?" he asked over the phone, his voice casual. "You're good with words. I want to make a good impression." "Of course, Dad," I said warmly. "Send me the questions and I'll draft something for you." He sent me the application. I read through it carefully. They asked about community involvement, professional history, personal values, and why he wanted to join. I wrote him a beautiful essay. Eloquent, impressive, exactly the kind of thing that would catch their attention. I talked about his commitment to family, his professional success, his desire to contribute to the community. And then, in the section about previous memberships and affiliations, I listed 3 organizations. 2 were real. One was a fictitious charity that, if they researched it, would come up empty. Not illegal, just odd. Just enough to raise questions about his truthfulness. In the personal references section, I listed 3 names. 2 were real friends of his. One was a name I made up completely. When they tried to contact that person for a reference, they would find nothing. I sent the application to my father. He glanced at it, said, "Perfect, thanks," and submitted it without reading it carefully. My mother was organizing a charity fundraiser for her church. She was raising money for the local food bank. She asked me to help with the logistics. "I need to book the community center," she said. "Can you call and set that up? They know you from when you planned Sarah's party." The mention of Sarah's party didn't even make her flinch. She had already moved past it, forgotten it, filed it away as irrelevant. "Sure, Mom," I said. "What date were you thinking?" "October 15th, she said. "A Saturday, 2 to 5 in the afternoon." I called the community center. I booked October 15th from 2 to 5. Then I called a second venue across town, the Heritage Hall, and I booked them for the same date and time, also in my mother's name. Both venues would expect her to show up. Both would be upset when she didn't. And when they compared notes, which they eventually would, because they were both managed by the same event company, it would look like my mother had deliberately double-booked to cause confusion. Sarah was applying to colleges. She had her heart set on 3 schools: Cornell, Northwestern, and the University of Virginia. She asked me to write a recommendation letter as her older brother to submit with her applications. "You're good at writing," she said over text. "Make me sound smart and accomplished." I wrote her 3 beautiful recommendation letters. I talked about her dedication, her creativity, her leadership potential. I made her sound like an ideal candidate. But in each letter, I included small details that, to a careful reader, would raise concerns. I mentioned her youthful enthusiasm multiple times, which emphasized her immaturity. I noted that she was still developing her sense of responsibility, which sounded positive but planted doubt. I described an incident where she learned from a mistake in judgment, which made the reader wonder what the mistake was. The letters sounded supportive on the surface, but underneath, they subtly suggested she wasn't ready for a rigorous academic environment. Sarah never read them carefully. She just submitted them with her applications. Everything I did looked helpful on the surface. I was the dutiful son, the supportive brother. I was doing exactly what they asked. But underneath, I was ensuring small failures. Nothing catastrophic. Nothing that could be traced directly back to me. Just small cracks in their perfect lives. I waited. 3 weeks later, my father received a letter from the Riverside Country Club. Rejection. The letter was polite, but cold. It cited concerns about the accuracy of information provided in your application and inability to verify certain references. My father was furious. He called the club to complain. They told him his application contained false information, and he was welcome to reapply in 5 years. 2 weeks after that, my mother's charity fundraiser became a disaster. Both venues expected her on October 15th. When she showed up at the community center, she found it locked because Heritage Hall had called to confirm and been told there was a double booking. The event company assumed it was fraud. The community center refused to open. My mother had 70 people waiting in the parking lot and no venue. The fundraiser was canceled. Her church was embarrassed. The food bank received no money. In early November, Sarah started receiving rejection letters from her colleges. Cornell rejected her. Northwestern rejected her. The University of Virginia waitlisted her, which was essentially a soft rejection. She sobbed in my parents' living room. "I don't understand. My grades were good. My test scores were good. Why didn't they want me?" My mother tried to comfort her. My father looked angry, like the universe had personally wronged his daughter. I got a phone call from my father on a Tuesday evening. "This is your fault," he said immediately. his voice hard. "What is?" I asked calmly. "All of it. The country club, the fundraiser, Sarah's college rejections. You sabotaged us." "I just helped you with what you asked," I said. "I wrote your essay. I booked the venue. I wrote Sarah's recommendation letters. I did exactly what you asked me to do. You deliberately ruined everything." "Can you prove that?" I asked. Silence. "Because if you can't prove it, then maybe these are just unfortunate coincidences. Or maybe the country club actually did their research and found issues with your application that had nothing to do with me. Maybe the event company made an honest mistake with the double booking. Maybe Sarah's college essays weren't as strong as she thought they were." "You're a manipulative piece of garbage," my father said. "I learned from the best," I replied. He hung up. An hour later, my mother, father, and Sarah showed up at my apartment. They didn't knock. They used Sarah's key to let themselves in. "We need to talk," my mother said, her voice shaking with anger. They sat in my living room, all three of them staring at me. "You sabotaged us," my father said. "You're vindictive and cruel, and you're taking revenge for a harmless joke. A joke that cost me $6,000 in 4 months of my life," I said. "You want to know the truth?" my father said, his voice rising. "You want to know why we did all of this?" "I already know why. Your grandmother's inheritance," my father said. "She left you $50,000 4 years ago. We never told you. We spent it." The room went silent. I stared at him. "What?" "She left it to you in her will," my mother said, her voice defiant now. $50,000. We were the executors of her estate. We were supposed to give it to you. We didn't. We spent it on ourselves, on trips, on renovations, on things we wanted. You stole from me," I said quietly. "We figured you'd waste it anyway," my father said. "After the divorce, you were a mess. We made better use of that money than you would have. We gave ourselves the life we deserved after raising 3 children. And the fake parties, the fake projects, all of it was to keep me distracted," I said. "So I wouldn't check my grandmother's will. So I wouldn't look into her estate. You never would have known if you hadn't started this revenge campaign," my mother said. "You forced us to tell you. This is your fault." I looked at them. My parents. The people who were supposed to love me, protect me, support me. They had stolen $50,000 from me and blamed me for finding out. "Get out of my apartment," I said. "Or what?" my father challenged. "What are you going to do, Delbert? Call the police? Sue us? We're your parents. You'll look like a greedy, vindictive son going after his own family over money." "Get out," I repeated. They left, finally. Sarah lingered at the door. "Was it really you?" she asked. "Did you really sabotage my college applications?" I looked at my 17-year-old sister, who had called me pathetic, who had participated in betting on my humiliation, who had never once stood up for me. "I wrote you honest recommendation letters," I said. "If they weren't good enough, maybe that's something you should think about." She left. The door closed. I sat alone in my apartment and realized that my small campaign of revenge had just triggered something much worse. They had revealed the theft. Now they knew I knew, and they were going to make sure I couldn't do anything about it. The next morning, I called a lawyer. Attorney Jennifer Morgan specialized in estate law and inheritance disputes. I sat in her office on Wednesday afternoon and told her everything. She listened carefully, taking notes, her expression growing more serious as I talked. "Do you have a copy of your grandmother's will?" she asked. "No. My parents were the executors. I never saw it." "We can get it from probate court," she said. "Wills are public record. If your grandmother left you $50,000 and your parents never distributed it, that's theft. It's also a breach of their fiduciary duty as executors." "Can we get the money back?" "Yes. But it will take time. Several months, possibly longer, and it will be expensive. Legal fees could run $10,000 to $15,000. I don't have that kind of money. I work on contingency for cases like this. I take 30% of whatever we recover. But you need to understand. Delbert, this will destroy your relationship with your parents. I think that ship has sailed, I said. She nodded. Then let's file the paperwork. I left her office feeling something like hope. I was going to get my money back. I was going to hold them accountable. That feeling lasted 2 days. On Friday afternoon, my supervisor at the graphic design firm called me into her office. Delbert, we need to talk about some concerns that have been brought to our attention, she said. What concerns? Your father called yesterday. He said you've been having a mental health crisis since your divorce. He said you've become unstable, that you've been making threats against your family, that you might need professional help. I felt my face go hot. That's not true. He seemed very concerned. He said you might be a danger to yourself or others. I'm not. I'm completely fine. He suggested we might want to give you some time off to get help. I don't need time off. I need to work. I have bills to pay and a legal case to fund. She looked uncomfortable. We're placing you on administrative leave pending an investigation into your mental fitness for work. You can't do that. We can, actually, for the safety of our employees and our clients. You'll receive full pay during the leave, but you need to be evaluated by a mental health professional before you can return. I left the office in a daze. I had just been placed on forced leave from my job because my father made a phone call. When I got home, I found a notice taped to my apartment door. A noise complaint. Multiple complaints, actually, from several neighbors. Claims that I had been playing loud music at 3 a.m, shouting, disturbing the peace. I hadn't done any of those things. I barely played music at all. I certainly hadn't been shouting, but someone had filed complaints. Multiple someones. All anonymous. The notice said if there were any more complaints, my lease could be terminated. I called my landlord. He was apologetic but firm. I have to take complaints seriously, Delbert. I'm sorry. Just keep it down, okay? I'm not making noise, I said. Someone is filing false complaints. I don't know what to tell you. The complaints are documented. Just be more considerate. That evening, my phone started buzzing with notifications. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Sarah had posted on all of them. A long, emotional statement about having an abusive older brother who was terrorizing our family. She claimed I had been threatening our parents, harassing them, seeking revenge over a misunderstanding about party plans. She said I had sabotaged her college applications out of jealousy. She said she was scared of me. The post had been shared 200 times already. Friends and relatives were commenting with support for Sarah. Stay safe. Get a restraining order. Family abuse is real. My phone rang. Amanda, my ex-wife. Delbert, what is going on? She asked immediately. Your mother just called me. She said you've been threatening them. She said you're having a breakdown. This isn't like you. What's happening? They stole $50,000 from me, I said, from my grandmother's inheritance. When I found out and hired a lawyer, they started a campaign to destroy my reputation. Oh my God, Amanda said quietly. They got me placed on leave from work. They're filing false complaints with my landlord. Sarah is posting lies about me online. They're positioning themselves as victims and me as the aggressor. This is exactly what I warned you about, Amanda said. This is exactly why I left. They manipulate everything. They turn everything around. And you let them. I'm not letting them. I'm fighting back. And look where that's gotten you, she said. And she didn't sound angry. She sounded sad. Delbert, you can't win against people like this. They don't fight fair. They're willing to burn everything down to protect themselves. You're not. So what do I do? Just let them keep the money? Let them keep lying? I don't know, she said honestly. I really don't know. She hung up. I sat in my apartment, scrolling through Sarah's posts, watching my reputation crumble in real time. The next morning, Attorney Morgan called me. We have a problem, she said. Just one? I asked bitterly. Your parents have filed for a restraining order against you. They're claiming harassment, and threatening behavior. The hearing is Monday morning. That's in 2 days. Yes. And Delbert, they've submitted evidence. Text messages that appear to show you threatening them. I never threatened them. These messages have your name on them. Your phone number. They're fake. They have to be fake. They look very real. And even if they're doctored, proving that will be difficult. If this restraining order goes through, you won't be able to contact your parents, which means you won't be able to pursue the inheritance case. You'll look like an estranged, threatening son. No judge will side with you. I felt everything collapsing around me. My job, my home, my reputation, my legal case. Everything. They've outmaneuvered you, Jennifer said quietly. I'm sorry. What do I do? Come to the hearing on Monday. Bring any evidence you have that contradicts their claims. Character witnesses. Anything. We'll fight this. But I need you to be prepared for the possibility that we might lose. I spent the weekend trying to gather evidence. But what evidence did I have? My word against theirs. My family against me. I tried calling friends. People who could testify that I wasn't violent or threatening. Half of them had already seen Sarah's posts and didn't respond to my messages. The other half were uncomfortable getting involved in a family dispute. I was alone. Sunday night I couldn't sleep. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, understanding that I had lost. They had won. They had stolen from me, lied about me, destroyed my life, and they were going to get away with it. At 2 a.m, my phone buzzed. A text from Tyler, my cousin. I've been waiting for you to call. I saved everything. I called Tyler immediately, even though it was 2 a.m. He answered on the first ring. Delbert. Finally. What do you mean you saved everything? Meet me at the diner on Maple Street. 20 minutes. I drove through empty streets, my hands shaking on the steering wheel. Tyler was already there when I arrived, sitting in a back booth with a laptop and a folder of papers. He looked tired, older than his 28 years. I've been documenting this for 2 years, he said without preamble. Sit down. Saturday. He opened the laptop. I was uncomfortable with how they treated you, he said. The fake anniversary party, the guest house renovation, all of it. It felt wrong, but I didn't know how to say anything without causing family drama. So I started taking screenshots, saving messages, recording things. He turned the laptop toward me. The screen showed the family group chat, the one I had been excluded from. I have the original group chat about the Sweet 14 party, he said. Every message, unedited, time-stamped, including the bets about how long you'd keep planning it. He clicked to another folder. I have text messages between your father and your uncle discussing the fake IRS audit. Your father wrote, "Let's see if Delbert is dumb enough to fall for this again." Your uncle replied, "This is cruel, George. You should stop." Your father said, "He needs to learn." Another folder. Emails between your parents discussing your grandmother's inheritance. Your mother wrote, "Should we tell Delbert about the 50,000? Your father replied, "Why? He doesn't need to know. We've already spent most of it anyway. He'd just waste it on his pathetic life." He kept clicking. More messages, more evidence. A recording of a phone call. "This is from 3 weeks ago," Tyler said. "Your mother called my mother. They didn't know I was in the room. Listen." He played the audio. My mother's voice, clear and recognizable. "We need to make sure Delbert can't pursue this legally. George and I are going to file a restraining order. We'll say he threatened us. Sarah will post on social media that she's scared of him. We'll make him look unstable. No judge will side with an unstable son over worried parents." My aunt's voice, uncertain. "Patricia, this feels wrong. It's protecting our family. Delbert started this when he sabotaged us. Now we're finishing it." The audio stopped. I stared at Tyler. "You have all of this?" "Everything." I almost came forward a dozen times, but I kept hoping they'd stop on their own. When I heard about the restraining order hearing, I knew I had to give this to you. "Why now?" I asked. "Why help me?" Because I love our family, Tyler said quietly. But what they're doing to you isn't love. It's abuse. And I can't watch it anymore. My mom can't either. She wanted to testify at the hearing, but she's scared of being ostracized by the family. I'm not. I'll testify. I'll give all of this to your lawyer. I felt something unfamiliar. Hope. Real hope. Thank you, I said, and my voice cracked. Don't thank me yet, Tyler said. This is going to get ugly. At 9 o'clock Monday morning, I walked into the courthouse with Attorney Morgan and Tyler. My parents were already there with their lawyer, a sharp-looking man in an expensive suit. Sarah was with them, dressed conservatively, looking young and scared. The hearing began. My parents' lawyer presented their case. The threatening text messages, Sarah's testimony about feeling unsafe, their claims that I had been unstable since my divorce. Then it was our turn. Jennifer stood up. Your Honor, I'd like to present evidence that these claims are entirely fabricated. She submitted everything Tyler had given us. The group chats, the text messages, the emails about the inheritance, the recorded phone call about making me look unstable. The judge read through the documents carefully. His expression hardened. Mr. and Mrs. Hartwell, he said finally, did you file a false restraining order against your son? My mother looked at her lawyer. He whispered to her. She said nothing. Did you steal $50,000 from your son's inheritance? My father cleared his throat. We were the executors. We had discretion about how to distribute the funds. The will specifically names Delbert Hartwell as the beneficiary of $50,000, Jennifer said. They had no discretion. They had a legal obligation to distribute those funds. They instead spent the money on themselves. The judge looked disgusted. This restraining order is dismissed, and Mr. and Mrs. Hartwell, you should expect to hear from this court again regarding the inheritance matter. I'm also referring this case to the district attorney's office for possible fraud charges. My mother started crying. Real tears this time. Tears of fear. We left the courthouse. My father tried to approach me in the parking lot. Delbert. Wait. I turned around. He looked smaller than I had ever seen him. Older. Diminished. His phone rang. He answered it. His face went pale. Yes, this is George Hartwell, he said. What? No, that can't be right. He hung up. He looked at me with something like horror. What did you do? He whispered. I don't know what you mean, I said calmly. Our business. Our rental properties. The bank just called. Someone filed formal complaints about housing code violations. The city is investigating. Our insurance company is reviewing our policies. Our tenants are being interviewed. I smiled. I didn't do any of that. But maybe someone who was tired of watching you break the rules decided to make some phone calls. Maybe Tyler. Maybe someone else. I really couldn't say. His phone rang again. Then my mother's phone. Then his again. What have you done? My mother asked, her voice breaking. Nothing, I said. I'm just keeping busy. I walked to my car. Jennifer walked with me. Tyler followed. What did you do? Jennifer asked quietly. Tyler might have contacted the housing authority about code violations at their rental properties, I said, and the church charity board about mismanagement of funds from the failed fundraiser, and Delbert's employer with documentation proving his father's claims about mental instability were false, and his landlord with evidence that the noise complaints were fabricated, and the IRS, the real IRS, about unreported rental income from properties my parents have been running under the table for years. Tyler grinned. I might have done all of that. You didn't have to, I said. Yes, I did, Tyler said. They needed to face actual consequences for once. Not just for what they did to you, for who they are. My phone buzzed. A text from my supervisor at work. Delbert, please come in tomorrow morning. We've reviewed new evidence, and we're ending your administrative leave immediately. We apologize for any inconvenience. Another text. From my landlord. Disregard the noise complaints. We've determined they were falsified. Your lease is secure. Another text. From a friend who had ghosted me after Sarah's posts. Saw the court documents on social media. Tyler posted everything. I'm so sorry I didn't believe you. Lunch this week? I drove home. I sat in my apartment. I looked around at my small, quiet life that my family had tried to destroy. And I realized something. I had won. Not completely. The legal process would take time. But I had won the important battle. The battle for truth. The battle for my own dignity. My phone rang. My father. I answered. Please, he said. His voice was broken. Please call off Tyler. Please make this stop. I can't control Tyler, I said. He's his own person. He makes his own choices. We'll pay you back. The $50,000. Plus interest. Plus damages. Whatever you want. That's between you and my lawyer, I said. Delbert, please. We're your parents. No, I said quietly. Parents don't do what you did. Parents love their children. They protect them. They support them. You did none of those things. You managed me. You manipulated me. You stole from me. You tried to destroy me. You're not my parents. You're just people I used to know. We love you, my mother said. She was on the line too, listening. We always loved you. No, you didn't, I said. And that's okay. I don't need your love anymore. I don't need your approval. I don't need anything from you, except what you already owe me. I hung up. 6 weeks later, I sat in Attorney Jennifer Morgan's office signing settlement papers. My parents agreed to pay me $63,000. $50,000 for the original inheritance, plus $13,000 in interest and damages. They also agreed to cover all my legal fees. The City Housing Authority had found multiple violations at their rental properties. They were facing fines totaling $22,000. Their insurance company had dropped them, forcing them to find much more expensive coverage. The church charity board had removed my mother from all volunteer positions, pending a review of her handling of the failed fundraiser. The IRS, the actual IRS, had launched a real audit of their rental income that was ongoing. My father's reapplication to the Riverside Country Club had been permanently rejected after the club learned about the court case. Sarah's college applications had been withdrawn by my parents after Northwestern specifically cited concerns about the family dynamics revealed in my recommendation letters and the subsequent legal proceedings. She was attending community college instead. According to Tyler, she was actually doing well there and seemed to be growing up. Jason, my brother, had called to apologize. He said watching everything unfold had made him realize how toxic the family dynamics were. He was in therapy now, working through his own issues with our parents. Tyler and I had lunch every week now. He had introduced me to his girlfriend, a kind woman named Rachel, who worked as a veterinarian. We had become actual friends, not just cousins who saw each other at holidays. Amanda had reached out too. I'm proud of you, she said over coffee. You stood up for yourself. You didn't become cruel. You became strong. There's a difference. We weren't getting back together. Too much had happened. But we were genuinely friendly now. Occasionally we met for dinner or a movie. She had been right about my family all along, and I had finally listened. My job had given me a promotion. My supervisor had apologized profusely for the administrative leave and made it clear that my father's claims had been investigated and found to be completely false. The promotion came with a 15% raise and more creative control over projects. My landlord had upgraded my lease terms and reduced my rent by $100 a month as an apology for the false complaints. Friends had returned, apologetic and supportive. Some relationships couldn't be recovered, and that was okay. I had learned who was really there for me. I had also reconnected with my grandmother's sister, my great-aunt Helen, who was 93 years old and sharp as ever. When I told her what had happened with the inheritance, she wasn't surprised. Your grandmother worried about that, Helen said. She worried about how your parents would handle her money. That's why she specified in the will that you should receive that inheritance directly. She wanted you to have something that was just yours. She loved you very much, Delbert. She saw who you really were. That conversation made me cry. The good kind of crying. The kind that heals. I used the settlement money to start my own graphic design business. Hartwell Creative Studios. It was small, just me and one other designer I hired part-time. But it was mine. My clients liked my work. My business grew steadily. 6 months after the court case, I received a letter from my parents. A real letter. Handwritten. Delivered by mail. Dear Delbert. My mother had written. We're in family therapy. All of us. Sarah, Jason, your father, and me. The therapist, a different one now, has helped us understand what we did to you. We understand it was abuse. We understand it was wrong. We understand we broke your trust and your heart. We don't expect forgiveness. We don't expect a relationship. But we want you to know that we're working on ourselves. We're trying to become better people. We hope someday you can see that. We hope someday you can believe it. Even if you never want to see us again, we want you to know we're sorry. Really, truly sorry. Love, Mom. My father had added a note at the bottom. You were right. We weren't parents. We were people who treated our son like a project. That was inexcusable. I'm working every day to understand why I did that. To change. I don't know if I can, but I'm trying. I hope you're happy, son. I hope you're building the life you deserve. I kept the letter. I didn't respond. Maybe someday I would. Maybe not. That was my choice now. I thought about forgiveness a lot in those months. What it meant. What it required. I realized forgiveness wasn't the same as reconciliation. I could forgive them for being broken people who hurt me, but I didn't have to let them back into my life. Forgiveness could be something I did for myself, not for them. A way to let go of anger without letting them back in. Maybe someday I would want a relationship with them again. But it would have to be a completely different relationship. One built on honesty, respect, and boundaries. One where I was seen as a person, not a problem to manage. For now, I was focusing on building my own life, my own business, my own friendships, my own happiness. I was busy, really busy. Busy creating designs for clients who valued my work. Busy having dinner with Tyler and Rachel. Busy having coffee with Amanda. Busy going to the gym. Busy reading books. Busy learning to play guitar. Busy living a life that was mine. The funny thing was, my parents had been right about one thing. I did need to be busy, just not the way they thought. Not with their fake projects and manufactured crises. I needed to be busy building something real. Something that belonged to me. Something they couldn't take away. I learned something important through all of this. Family love shouldn't require you to lose yourself. Real love doesn't manipulate. It doesn't test. It doesn't use. For 32 years, I believed being a good son meant accepting whatever treatment came my way. I believed love meant sacrifice, even when that sacrifice meant sacrificing my dignity. I learned that boundaries aren't betrayal. Standing up for yourself isn't cruelty. Sometimes the people who claim to want the best for you are actually invested in keeping you small because it makes them feel big. The fake party wasn't about keeping me busy. It was about keeping me controlled. It was about making sure I stayed in my place, stayed manageable, stayed useful to them without becoming a threat to their view of themselves as good parents. By refusing to play their games anymore, by demanding respect instead of accepting scraps of approval, I didn't lose my family. I gave them the chance to become one. Whether they take that chance is their choice. My choice is to never again build my life around someone else's deception. I sit in my office now, in my small but growing business, looking at the work I've created. Real work, meaningful work, work that reflects who I actually am, not who someone wanted me to be. My grandmother once told me, when I was maybe 10 years old, that the most important thing in life was to know yourself, to be honest about who you are and what you need. I didn't understand it then. I understand it now. I know myself now. I know what I will accept and what I won't. I know what love should look like, even if I didn't get to see it modeled in my childhood. I know that I deserve respect, honesty, and genuine care. And I know that I will never settle for less again. Am I happy? Yes, genuinely, honestly happy, in a way I never was before. Not because I won some battle against my parents, but because I finally won the battle for myself, for my own worth, for my own truth. They wanted to keep me busy so I wouldn't notice they were using me. Now I'm busy building a life they can't touch. And that's the busiest I've ever been. If you've ever dealt with family members who manipulate or control you, who make you feel like you're the problem when you're actually the target, I want you to ask yourself, what boundaries do you need to set? What truths do you need to speak? What parts of yourself have you given up to keep the peace? Because peace built on your silence isn't peace, it's surrender. And you deserve better. You deserve a life that's yours. You deserve relationships built on honesty. You deserve to be seen, heard, and valued for who you actually are. Sometimes the hardest thing we'll ever do is choose ourselves. But sometimes it's also the most important thing. And sometimes, just sometimes, choosing yourself gives other people the chance to finally see you clearly, to finally understand what they lost, to finally become the people they should have been all along. Whether they take that chance or not, you'll be okay. Because you'll be busy building something real, something that matters, something that's truly yours. If this story resonated with you, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Have you ever experienced manipulation from family members? How did you handle it? What boundaries have you had to set in your own life? Let's have a conversation. Your story might help someone else who's going through something similar. And if you found value in this story, please hit that like button. It helps more people find these stories and maybe find the courage to stand up for themselves too. Subscribe to the channel if you want to hear more stories about overcoming family dysfunction, workplace betrayal, and personal growth. And please share this video with anyone who might need to hear it. Sometimes knowing we're not alone makes all the difference. Thank you for listening to my story. I hope wherever you are in your own journey, you're finding your way to a life that's authentically yours. Take care of yourselves. You deserve it.